And finally, of course, the area of negotiations. The main message that we want to convey is that India wants an agreement at Copenhagen. India is not part of the problem, but India wants to be part of the solution. I think we are being portrayed as some sort of a obstruction to climate change, and I may have contributed to it by the selective reporting by our stalwarts of the media of my meeting with Hillary Clinton. With all the other things got drowned out, but what got picked up was only the first two sentences in my otherwise very thoughtful, if I may say so myself, intervention. And Mrs. Clinton also thought so. But unfortunately, only that part got reported, and therefore that contributed to the image of India being a negative player. That our bottom line is that India, at today's stage of development, is not in a position and cannot and should not take legally binding reduction targets. Once developed countries have shown demonstrable proof of their seriousness, then India perhaps can think of going to the next stage. But at a time when every country is in violation of its Kyoto Protocol obligation, to ask India and China to take on legally binding targets, in my view, smacks of hypocrisy of the highest kind. India, China, and Pakistan and other countries have given a proposal to the UN that 40% of developed country emissions should be cut by the year 2020 with reference to 1990. This is very important because the reference here keeps changing. And I believe that if the developed countries accept this proposal, then countries like India and China will be very hard put. They will be forced to think of creative solutions to deal with climate change. But since there is no hell of hope of the developed countries ever agreeing to this proposal, we'll get by, relatively easily. But between now and Copenhagen, I'm planning a series of interactions. We have gone to China. I've just come back yesterday from China, where we have had a very useful exchange of views. After 4.5 hours of discussion and a bit of spirituality imbibed on the part of the Chinese, I asked the Chinese chief negotiator whether he has any intention of leaving India alone in Copenhagen. And he was taken aback by my question, and he proceeded for the next 10 minutes to convince me and to reassure me that India will not be abandoned by China at Copenhagen. We're having a SAARC Environment Ministers Conference on the 19th and 20th of October, where climate change will be part of the SAARC agenda, undoubtedly. So India is taking a leadership role. And I think what we need to do between now and Copenhagen is tell the story as it is. Be upfront, be transparent, be proactive. I think China has done a far better job of communicating what it is doing than India. India has an equally good story to tell. In fact, in renewables, India has a better story to tell than China. Today, China is talking of 10% of renewable energy capacity by the year 2020. And today, 8% of our total power generating capacity already is renewable. But, nobody writes about it in our country because we are busy pulling each other down. And all the good things that we have done do not get the attention in our own media. And my appeal to all of you is that, democracy is all very well, but at some stage, you need to project India in a better position on climate change than has been the case so far. We don't have anything to feel defensive about. I remember the late Anil Agarwal's very, very colorful, very pithy description. And he said that in India, the problem is survival emissions. And in the United States, it is luxury emissions. In our country, if you compare ourselves with our peers in the developed countries, I believe that our carbon footprint will be much lower than our counterparts in these countries. So we need to understand what is going to happen to India's growth trajectory given alternative economic scenarios. And on the 2nd of September, we will be releasing the results of modeling studies which broadly put our emissions in the year 2030 at roughly anywhere between 5 to 7 billion tons. So on a per capita basis, we would be between 3 to 4 as opposed to about 1.2 to 1.3 tons per capita right now. So India will not be a China. Even if India were growing at the rate at which China has grown in the last 30 years, what these studies shows is that India is not going to be a major polluter, a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, as is often made out to be. However, we are going to be a major country which is going to be impacted by climate change in a variety of ways. That is why we are conducting what I believe is to be the first comprehensive scientific assessment of the impact of climate change on India, in Indian agriculture, in Indian industry, on Indian transport, on Indian glaciers, on Indian rivers. This study has already started. The results will be available by November 2010. 127 research institutions and 220 scientists are associated with this exercise. I want to underscore one issue here. A country like India has to build its own research capacity to study what is happening in the area of climate change. We cannot depend all the time on derived science from other countries as to what is happening to the Himalayan glaciers, as an example.